Salut! Time to get ready for your test over the first half of Chapter 2. The first thing I have here is a list of several vocabulary words that you'll encounter on the test. Basically what will happen on the test is you'll be given 2 of these items and you'll have to match it with a choice of 5 items as far as other things that logically are associated with those items. So just to kind of give you a quick preview here, things like if you were given la radio and la musique, the words for radio and music, you might match that up with le baladeur MP3, an MP3 player. So you just basically have to be able to read and understand these words. Let's go through them very quickly. La radio is a radio. La musique is music. Les mathématiques is math. Un magazine is a magazine. L'anglais is English. Le français is French. Un journal is a newspaper. Un roman is a novel. Envoyer un texto means to send a text message. Le baladeur MP3 is an MP3 player. Un crayon de couleur is a colored pencil. Dessiner is to draw. An SMS is a text message. A drawing is un dessin. And téléphoner is to call or telephone someone. Be familiar enough with those where you can read them and understand them. For Part B, it's also about reading comprehension. You have to be able to read a French sentence and then match it with a picture that represents it. So for example, j'aime mieux les vacances means I like vacations better. You might have to match that with a picture of somebody on vacation, like a beach or something like that. So make sure you know how to read and understand these and sentences like them. Let's keep going through these. Je n'aime pas regarder la télé is I don't like to watch TV. J'aime lire is I like to read. Je n'aime pas étudier is I don't like to study. J'adore dessiner is I love to draw. And j'aime dormir is I like to sleep. Again, reading comprehension for the second section. The third section, you are given 4 choices in the directions of phrases that you can use to answer these or respond to these sentences. Your 4 choices, and they'll be listed on the test just like this, are moi aussi, pas moi, moi non plus, or moi si. Basically, they give you somebody's opinion of something, like on number 1, j'adore lire. They give it to you in French just like I do here. And then they want you to either agree or disagree with that person. It's not about your own personal opinion, it's about what they tell you to do. So if somebody says, j'adore lire, I love to read, the way you would agree with them for number 1 is by saying moi aussi, which means me too. Basically what I have for you here in the yellow is kind of a summary of how you're supposed to respond to these, because there is only one right answer for each of these statements, depending on whether they want you to agree or disagree. If somebody likes something and you have to agree, you need to say me too, which in French is moi aussi. If somebody likes something and you have to disagree though, you have to use pas moi, which means not me. If somebody doesn't like something and you agree and you don't like it either, you want to say moi non plus, because that means me neither. But if somebody dislikes something and you disagree, if somebody dislikes it but you actually like it yourself, you disagree with that dislike, you need to say moi si, which means, well, I actually do like it. So let's keep going here over these answers. If somebody says j'aime l'école, they're saying I like school, and if you need to disagree with that, you have to say pas moi, not me. If somebody says je n'aime pas manger, means I don't like to eat, you need to disagree with that and say moi si, well, I actually do. You're crazy if you don't like that. For number 4, je déteste la musique classique means I hate classical music. If you actually think Mozart is awesome, you need to disagree by saying moi si, well, I actually like it. And then finally, je n'aime pas les frites means I don't like French fries. If you want to agree with that because you don't think French fries are great either, you say moi non plus, because that means me neither. Part D is where you have to choose the correct L word, the correct definite article for the blank. You want to make sure that you're looking at the word after the blank for determining whether you need the masculine form, which is le, the feminine form of the, which is la, the form that goes with words that start with a vowel, which is L apostrophe, or the form that goes with plural forms, which is le. Basically, I want you to work through 3 steps when you get to this section. The first thing I want you to notice about the word is whether it's plural. Remember, that usually means that it ends in an S, because if it's plural, you get to use les and you don't have to think anymore. If, however, you happen to have a word that isn't plural, the next thing I want you to check for is whether or not it starts with a vowel. Because if it starts with a vowel, then you have to use L apostrophe and you don't have to think anymore. Sorry, I'm making a little edit here as we speak. If by chance you have a word that doesn't start with a vowel and isn't plural. That's the only time you have to worry about whether it's masculine or feminine. And for the bajillionth time, there's no way looking at a word to know whether it's masculine or feminine. You just have to have it memorized. Or if you can find it someplace else on your test, then you could use that as a reference. If worse comes to worse and you can't find it anywhere else and you have no clue, take a guess. You got a 50-50 shot. It's either le or la. So let's go through these quickly. École is not plural. It's the word for school. It doesn't have an S. So I check for whether it starts with a vowel. It does. L apostrophe is the right article for école. For bande dessinée, I check to see if it ends in an S. It is. It's comics. It's plural, so it's got to be les, L-E-S, on this one. On number 3, when I look at musique, it's not plural, and it doesn't start with a vowel. So at that point, I've narrowed my choices down to being either le or la. In this case, musique happens to be feminine, so it's la musique classique. For newspaper, it's not newspapers. There's no S here or X for that matter. Also notice that it doesn't start with a vowel, so this comes down to me knowing that newspaper is masculine and writing down le. And then for teacher here, teachers can be boys or girls, and it is just one teacher, so it's not plural and it doesn't start with a vowel. The way you know here is the M here stands for monsieur, which is Mr., so it's got to be the masculine form, which is le. Part E is all about your ER verbs. Don't forget that very catchy song of S, S, O, N, S, O, N, S, Z, 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 N, T, N, T. Remember, for each one of these blanks, you'll take whatever verb they give you in parentheses. The first step is to get rid of the ER. When you get rid of the ER, you're left with what's known as the stem. In this case, it's the letters A, I, M. Then you take a look over at your subject, and that will tell you which of those endings to add. For the case of news, you add an ONS. For nous aimons les magazines. We like magazines. For the je form of aimer, the first thing I do is look at the verb in parentheses and get rid of the ER. Then I look back at my subject, I realize that the je ending is the letter E, and I get j'aime dessiner, which means I like to draw. For adorer, first thing I do before I even look at the subject is get rid of the ER. When I look and see that my subject is tu, I realize I need to add the ending of ES. Tu adores dessiner ou regarder la télé means do you like to draw or watch TV? For this next one with aimer, I get rid of the ER. That's always the first step. I look back at my subject and see that vous is the subject, so I add an EZ. Vous aimez lire le roman? Do you like to read, or do y'all like to read the novel? Ils form of aimer, first of all, get rid of the ER. If ils is indeed your subject, you have to add that ENT. It's pronounced ils aiment manger les frites. They like to eat fries. Make sure you know those endings, folks. For part F, it will be a listening section. It tells you in the directions that you'll hear people talk about whether they like or dislike certain things, and you'll have to indicate whether you hear them talking about liking or disliking certain items or ideas or subjects and things like that. Basically, there's no way that I can get you ready for listening using a piece of paper. So I did just want to go over real quick those phrases for I like and I don't like. I also want to pay close attention to those things from section C, because if somebody says j'adore les frites and somebody else says moi aussi, me too, you know that they both like whatever they're talking about. So go back and look over those again. I won't repeat them since I've already said them on the video, but that's another good thing to know. Other phrases that would be good to be familiar with for this section are j'adore. If somebody says j'adore something, they love it. If somebody says j'aime bien, it means they really like it. If somebody says j'aime, it means I like. If they say je n'aime pas, though, they're bridging into the territory of not liking something. So you need to make sure that je n'aime pas is falling into a dislike. Je déteste is I hate. Obviously, that means that they don't like something very much either. Sorry for all the interruptions, by the way. I'm recording this at school, and they keep coming over the intercom. I tried to pause it, but if it seems kind of choppy, that's why. Sorry. Last section here, I'll do this as quickly as possible. It's a reading section. I just kind of wanted to throw a few things at you that might catch you off guard. Remember the word copain, our friends. So if you say something about les copains et moi, they'll be talking about their friends and me. My friends and me is les copains et moi. Nous écoutons means we listen. J'ai un baladeur means I have an MP3 player. Notice the difference between I have, which is j'ai, and j'aime, which is I like. A lot of people confuse those. J'aime bien les bandes dessinées, I really like comics. J'adore les animaux, or I love animals. Hector adore les romans, is Hector loves novels. And Hector écoute de la musique classique means this guy Hector likes to listen or listens to classical music. Go ahead and write down if you have any specific questions. We will rewatch this video during class and go over anything that you need to clarify before your test.